Until the Nintendo Switch popped around, handheld consoles didn't have a wide variety of first-person shooters to choose from, let alone ones with great gunplay. But with the Switch, we've got games like Wolfenstein, Doom, and even Borderlands that is known for having great gunplay. But this time, it was a shooter that was very offensively hilarious, made by People Can Fly, the developers who worked on Gears of War Judgment. Missing a few things, but still a fun little shooter. Here is my review of Bulletstorm Duke of Switch for the Nintendo Switch. Bulletstorm takes place in a sci-fi world around a band of outlaws who deserted their client after realizing they were hired to kill a bunch of innocent good people. Obsessed with revenge, their hot-headed leader makes both them and their ex-employer crash on a hostile planet. The story revolves around them fighting through savage natives in a race against time to find their target and get off the planet before it's too late. The one thing to say about this game is it's very crude with its dark humor. There is swearing literally everywhere, and you really have to have a taste for this sort of dark juvenile humor to get the most out of it. The Duke Nukem DLC also adds to this humor with his take on stuff going on in the story, putting in one-liners that honestly makes it more hilarious than serious. When it comes to gameplay, Bulletstorm is a first-person shooter with light upgrade elements thrown into the mix. Now this version is called Duke of Switch. It has the story mode, the Overkill and New Game Plus unlockable mode, as well as Duke's campaign. Unfortunately, everyone thought it also had all of the multiplayer and DLC from the original release, and it doesn't. Now the interesting thing about how mature, gory, and offensive this game is that it can be censored in a way. When you first boot up the game, you have options to turn off not only the blood and gore, as well as the profanity the story mode uses. That latter part being something I've never really seen in a game before. Now considering Echoes mode is not here, the bulk of what you're going to be doing in the game is story mode. To do this, you progress through large levels fighting enemies and solving light puzzles as you go through. Now the actual progression is very linear. There are little to no side paths, and what side paths there are pretty much just a room or two for you to go and get ammo, and that's it. Now as you're going through these areas, you'll constantly be fighting off enemies and destroying parts of the environment to solve puzzles, both with guns and a special grappling tool called a leash. The gunplay is very tight and quite diverse from weapon to weapon. Each weapon has a charged shot that can be unlocked for more powerful effects, like having your assault rifle incinerate targets, to having bouncing grenades that will repeatedly attack enemies to take down mini-bosses. Some of the weapons even have little nods to other gaming franchises, like the cinematic shots from the sniper rifle being similar to that of Sniper Elite. But it's not just about guns. The leash can combine with the gameplay, offering the ability to pull enemies towards you in slow motion for easy Matrix-like shots. And as you do all of these different types of kills, you get into the upgrade system. You get points for doing certain kills, and the more cinematic and different kills that you can do get you a lot more points. These can be used at stations to refill ammo, as well as upgrading weapons and tools. Kind of like a mixture between an experience and currency system. Now overall, this is a great gameplay system. You've got a lot of cinematic movements and really satisfying ways to kill enemies in both gory and non-gory ways. And that brings us to content and length. A single run through the story mode should take you around 7 to 8 hours depending on what difficulty you choose. When you beat the game, you've got Overkill mode, which is basically New Game Plus mode you can go through, as well as Duke Nukem's campaign mode. Now, despite how it sounds, it's not a new story mode. Duke mode basically just replaces Gray in the main story, with Duke Nukem having him say similar things and popping one-liners. Now, it does add a ton of humor to the way he reacts in some scenes, but the other characters act exactly the same, so it feels really detached. Now let's move on to presentation, which is pretty good. The visuals look great and detailed. There is a small amount of blur, but even if you turn off motion blur, there's a ton of detail and it looks crisp in handheld mode. Now the presentation did have an odd glitch that happened to me when I was playing a certain level of the game. When I was fighting a certain mini-boss, I heard voice clips from characters that weren't around as if they were. When we get to performance, it is really nice. The game is a stable and steady 30 frames per second, only dropping into the high 20s every so often. That's all I have to say about that, so let's go into battery life. On the original model, Bulletstorm has a battery range of 3 hours and 20 minutes up to 4 hours and 44 minutes. On the Nintendo Switch Lite, it has a range of 3 hours and 26 minutes up to 5 hours and 2 minutes. And on the Redbox or V2 2019 model, it has a range of 4 hours and 41 minutes up to 6 hours and 12 minutes. Now, in conclusion, Bulletstorm makes its way to the Switch in top form, offering fast-paced shooting with great gunplay on the go. Now, on the downside, it has some presentation glitches, and the echoes in multiplayer modes being removed is definitely the biggest downer. But if you still enjoy the game's story mode, it is a well-optimized shooter for offensive humor on the go. Reviews to Go rates Bulletstorm Duke of Switch for the Nintendo Switch a 7.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.